تلویزیون بهار تلویزیون مردمی که شامل برنامه‌های هنری، فرهنگی، اجتماعی، سیاسی، ورزشی و موضوعات داغ روز می باشد. پس تلویزیون بهار را دنبال کنید.
بهار تلویزیون د یووالي او پیوستون رښتینی غږ.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Azizan. We're just doing some setup today, but I'm really excited for everyone to join me on Universal Finance Academy. Let me go ahead and share my PowerPoint real quick so I can show you just the various, my contact information, of course. So let me present it right now. So again, my email is universalfinanceacademy@gmail.com, and my Facebook is Universal Finance Academy TV. So today I will be having, if my PowerPoint decides to work. Let's try that again. There we go. So, perfect. So today we'll be talking about certified nursing assistants. If anyone is interested, whether they're in high school or in college, and might want to start their career path going into medical school. Today my special guest is Stephanie Foster. She's the bridge coordinator for Salt Lake Community College. I'm really excited to have her. Today we're actually wearing our masks kind of at the beginning, so we can kind of talk about, precautions about COVID and why it's so important right now to be hygienic and to protect each other during this time. So hi Stephanie, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. So yeah, it definitely absolutely is important and a more crucial time than ever to keep up on the good hygiene. CNAs, definitely certified nursing assistants, are always about the hand washing after pretty much everything and before everything, a lot of hand washing. And then those masks are always completely crucial, especially when social distancing is not possible. When that 6-foot distance is not possible, those masks are absolutely vital. So yeah, I know it's been a crazy time, a crazy year, but definitely important to do our part to help keep everyone safe.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you being on our show today, talking about the importance of people wearing their masks, especially now. I hope people take it seriously as they have been so far. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background. What is your current position? Why is one of the things that you help with the Cna program here in Utah?
Absolutely, yeah. So my position is bridge coordinator for Salt Lake Community College, but I really work with 3 organizations. I work with Salt Lake Community College, Horizonte Instruction and Training Center, which is an alternative high school in Salt Lake City, and Utah CNA centers. And my position is basically to help students attending Horizonte to progress through the Cna program, and then later to help bridge them on to potential Salt Lake Community College courses and programs. So yeah, that's basically my position, and I started in March, and I absolutely love it. So very, very lucky, and I've worked with some really great students. So.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I actually didn't know that you worked for so many different things. So I'm happy you talked not only about the position you're in, but about the various programs that you have to offer here, especially at SLIC. Obviously I've only lived in Utah, but it's one of the best community colleges that I've known. When I like talk to other people in other states, you know, there's so many programs we have available here, and so many, you know, offers for, you know, jobs as well as potential like tuition reimbursement. So if anyone's interested, you know, Salt Lake Community College is a really great place to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Like, you know, most people, you know, they think of getting into medical school as something very difficult, something very strenuous, you know, 4 to 8 years. But people can actually start in high school usually to kind of get, you know, that terminology down, understand, you know, whether they like physically, mentally, emotionally are capable of being, you know, in a medical surrounding and environment. And for me, when I started in high school, I actually did CNA, and that's kind of my starting point. So, you know, what is CNA? And then we'll kind of go in depth from there.
Yeah, definitely. So it's great that you mentioned that there's ways to enter into the medical field without diving potentially right into medical school or becoming a doctor. And certified nursing assistant is actually one great way to do that. It's a great entry-level step. And certified nursing assistants, or CNAs, they help to care for individuals, often elderly individuals, those who are older, who need help basically caring for themselves. So they are the ones that help provide that care on a daily basis for such things. I think I might have it on the next slide. Some of what they do, just basically taking care of residents. They make sure resident vital signs like blood pressure, make sure their pulse is at a good rate, all those things. They also help residents with ADLs, activities of daily living, including bathing residents, helping them eat, helping them use the restroom, helping them groom themselves, and just really giving them a lot of just dignity and warmth and comfort in what can be a challenging time when you're starting to potentially lose some of those abilities for yourself.
So do you believe that someone like beforehand becoming CNA has to have like a certain amount of strength? You know, his various patients might be more difficult to deal with based on your ability to like hold them up, as well as, you know, understanding nutrition or any like medical terminology. Like, should people have that background first, or just coming in straightforward into that class, they'll be all right?
Those are great questions. Yeah, as far as the first aspect about having some level of physical strength, that probably is important. There are definitely techniques to help lift residents to where you don't have to have as much strength and everything, or possibly injure your back or something like that. But it probably is very helpful to at least be mobile. And as far as having a background information, I would think having some basic medical terminology would be very helpful, because there is quite a bit in it. I know I personally have worked with a lot of students that English is not their first language, and I think that definitely adds an element of difficulty, but quite a bit when you're coming into it, trying to learn a language and trying to learn the medical language, which is kind of a language in and of itself. So it can be challenging at times, but super rewarding.
Yeah, that's great. You know, when I started out, I wasn't sure if I would be, you know, someone capable of being a CNA, but there's a lot of, you know, new technology, new, you know, platforms, you know, that help people like rise up or stand. So for those of us who are interested in going into CNA, you know, don't worry too much about your physical capabilities. Obviously, you know, you need to have some physical capability, but don't worry if you're not like the strongest person, or even in regards to knowledge, like even if you don't have all that knowledge, like that's why CNA is that great breaking point for a lot of people, because that's when they really learn if they're capable of learning so many new terms and using that in their daily life. So that's really great. Okay, so I don't think a lot of people know like where a CNA can work. You know, is it a hospital? Is it like a care center? What are the various ways to, you know, maybe apply for those various areas as well?
Definitely, like there are several different places that certified nursing assistants are needed, and I think they always are needed or in high demand. One of the primary places is an assisted living facility, which basically is people that need at least some level of help on a daily basis. They don't need necessarily the level of care like at a hospital, but they do need some level of daily care, including those things I was talking about before, helping to bathe, helping use the restroom, helping to eat, helping to groom themselves, just some level of help with that. Another way is actually there are people who hire CNAs to come to their homes and care for them there, which can be a great option if the person isn't ready to give up their home space yet, but does need that extra help on a daily basis for certain activities. So I would think Indeed.com, I'm guessing would be a great place to look for certified nursing assistant positions, really at a variety of facilities.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, a lot of people who are in America, I know they can use like Indeed.com or Glassdoor, etc. Even if you're going to, you know, a high school right now, probably reach out to whoever their CNA you know, teacher is, because I think when I was working with my CNA teacher, she talked about several like living care facilities that she worked with to get certified CNAs after the program into a job right afterwards. So that's really great. But what are some of your recommendations, you know, for like a resume or like skills, like knowing another language maybe, or what other ways can someone, you know, show that they're a capable CNA when they're applying for jobs at these places?
Definitely. So, and I get into it a little bit later as far as the requirements, but having attended some type of a CNA program is not only recommended, but in some cases required. So definitely having that background knowledge of that background information on your resume of what program you completed. It's a little bit different it's a lot different of a time right now because until this year, the Utah CNA centers that's part of my work, they could not have their classes online. It was required that they went in person. That's only changed this year due to COVID and trying to limit the spread of the virus. But before there were clinical hours that were required. So basically the students would go into an assisted living facility with their instructor. They would kind of guide them through the process and everything. Once that comes back, if it does, I feel like that would be a good thing to put on the resume of where you completed that. If you've yet to have your full position, but you have completed clinical hours. Again, it is a very, very different time in that a lot of assisted living facilities are pretty much, at least in America, I think are probably not letting students into the facilities at this point due to the virus because they are high risk. But if that opens up in the future, I think that could be another thing. And definitely if you know another language, especially if the residents are likely to know that language and you could communicate with them in their own language, if that's what they desired, I think that would be very valuable as well.
Yeah, all great points. So I hope that helps people who are starting to build their resumes just heading out of high school. if you complete any kind of program in high school, whether it's, the Cna, or if you get a certificate in, maybe Java or, medical assistant, etc., or culinary skills, make sure to add that on your resume, because employers, universities, etc., they all want to see someone who's well-rounded, who's taking the time, in high school to really see whether they're passionate about something, and then, actually went to that course and fulfilled it at the end. So why don't we go ahead and talk more about the very specific requirements that are expected for someone in Cna. It's pretty rigorous, even though it's just a kind of a starter position. There's a lot of exams, both in person and as well as online, if you want to go into that in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So the requirements vary by state, and I would imagine definitely vary by different countries as well, since we have people watching from all over. So just as far as Utah is concerned, they are required to go through a certified nursing assistant program, like the Utah Cna centers that I mentioned. And then they're also required to pass 2 state exams. And one of those is a knowledge exam, and it's more of a multiple choice test that basically lays out so many things that you need to know as a certified nursing assistant, as well as a skills exam where you actually have an examiner with you, and you go through the skills either with a mannequin or with someone acting as the resident, and you basically need to hit these steps, and there are several steps for 22 skills, and they choose 5 skills basically for you to go through, and you need to go and perform those in front of the examiner, and they kind of grade you off for how you did on that. So it's definitely important to be really well prepared. We just had students go through a couple of days of skills training to definitely get those skills wired in. So I would imagine, even though the requirements vary by state, that it would be somewhat similar, in that probably going through some type of a program and passing some state exams.
Yeah, so in regards to the skills test right now with COVID, is that something that's being done virtually? Are people going into an actual place and then, actually working at, care facilities or hospitals or clinics? How, are CNAs being able to maintain the distance while still being able to help their patients fully?
Yeah, well, I believe that they are still doing the skills in person, but it would just be at the examination site. It wouldn't be with the actual residents. Again, that clinical aspect is no longer in place right now because of COVID. As far as precautions, I actually, it is very challenging because COVID has gotten into a lot of facilities, and it is very scary, because those are your most vulnerable population, the older population. So I know they try to do absolutely everything they can to keep it out, and when they do, they quarantine, they track, they do whatever they can to provide the very best care. But it is a challenging time, because it is a very communicable virus, and it is easily spread. So definitely, again, the hand washing, the mask, everything they can do to try to create that distance when distance is not always possible.
Yeah, exactly. That's great to hear. So I actually don't really know too much about this, but what is a CNA interest profiler? Is that a way for someone to figure out whether they want to get into CNA, or is it just kind of something that everyone does once they've accomplished the profile or the program afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. The next few slides are in regards to some specific things about CNAs. But basically, these were taken from ONET, and ONET is an amazing employee site that gives a ton of occupations and lists several characteristics about each one. I have at the bottom of this slide, to discover your own interests, you can take the ONET interest profiler at My Next Move. And I would definitely recommend that, whether you want to pursue the CNA route or another route. This could kind of give you a little bit insight into your personality, your work personality and interests. So as far as the CNA interest profiler goes, that's social, conventional, realistic. So basically there are 6 types, which are social, conventional, realistic, investigative. What would be the other ones? SCRI, artistic, I believe, and enterprising. So the social element is definitely probably the most important for CNA, which is wanting to help others, wanting to teach others, wanting to work with others to better their lives. The conventional aspect is more doing things by the book. You can follow steps, you can do things in order, you do things in an orderly fashion, and that is absolutely, especially crucial right now with COVID, definitely making sure to take all those precautions and do everything correctly. And then realistic is basically working with your hands, so it could be carpentry, it could be something like that, or it could be CNA, where you're hands-on working with the people. So those letters of the Holland Code basically apply the most to CNAs, which is why it becomes the CNA interest profile.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So those specific words or definitions is what allows someone to know if they're more kind of oriented towards being a CNA. So, I'm actually going to take that because I want to know, was it a good idea to take it in high school or not, kind of a thing. And then we'll see so are there other letters for like other types of jobs as well then? If you wanted to go into engineering or if you wanted to go into, I don't know, marketing, social media, stuff like that. If you take that, it'll help you pinpoint other potential career paths as well.
Yeah. So I just described the social, conventional, and realistic, but the other elements are investigative. You think science-based, probably engineering, well, things like that. Like to investigate, like to discover. Enterprising is basically sales, persuading, politics. Any of that would fall greatly under enterprising. And artistic, it definitely is what it basically sounds like, having more of the artistic talent or interest. We like to, again, be creative and really just work to create something out of nothing. So again, those are based on, it's called a Holland Code. And there's those 6 letters, all representing a word and representing a theme, basically, of an area of interest.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'll make sure to share that link on my Facebook as well as like my YouTube and Instagram if anyone wants to follow. And please take it. It sounds like something great, and it's free, right? So anyone can.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's free, and it's any of the tests that you might take. Just to give a forewarning, it's not an end-all be-all kind of thing as far as you take one test and it says you're this and you think you have to be that. That's not what they are. They're more guiding. They're not definitive, like you can or you cannot be this, but it might be helpful to know if you got a completely different interest profile, that maybe you are interested in other things. Like maybe if your very last thing was social, it's probably not going to be the best career for you if working with people is not one of your favorite things to do, because it is just such an important element in CNA. And there are other positions that might not be as much of, like engineer or something like that. So it's a good starting point for kind of seeing where your interests really do lie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much for going in depth on that. What are the various like Cna work styles? Actually, I haven't heard about this too much myself. Is that kind of the responsibilities of Cna, or the general kind of expectations for someone working as a Cna?
Yeah, so this was also taken from ONET. So basically, it's this page, the link at the bottom, that's the link to the nursing assistant profile on ONET, and it basically gives all of this information about them. The work styles, just some important elements that would be necessary, and these are actually 5 of I believe there were 16 listed. So these are just a handful of them, but just important elements like concern for others. Again, that social element is very important, and I would say really at the core of being a CNA is having that care and concern for others, because you are doing what can be difficult and challenging work, especially if you're helping people in sensitive situations, like helping them use the bathroom, or helping them bathe and you need to clean them. Having that heart and that concern for others is absolutely crucial, and giving the residents the dignity and warmth that they deserve. So dependability is also very important. Those people really depend on you to do your job, to show up on time, and to give it everything you got, every time, because you really are their lifeline in that position. Self-control is important, especially when working with residents with Alzheimer's or other type of dementia. They could potentially get upset with you and angry with you for, it could not be your fault. It could just be things that they're dealing with and going through, and it's really important to be able to control yourself and not lash out, and never abuse a resident, never commit any act of violence. Even if they're trying to harm you, you can never try to harm them. It would always be restraining. So having that element of self-control is also very important. And the last 2 I have listed here were just those top 5. The attention to detail, again, following all the steps, taking all the precautions, maintaining safety at all times. And integrity, absolutely, like you could have access to these residents' purses, you could have access to their valuables, and it's so important that they know that you're ethical and trustworthy, and you're not going to take anything that isn't yours. You're going to absolutely do your job, help the residents, stay honest, stay ethical, and basically you're there for the good of them, and not take anything from them that you shouldn't.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I hope people take a chance to go to that website, look at all 16 different, concepts, so they understand really in depth why, what's expected of them overall. If you don't have the personality type for it, you don't have the characteristics that will allow you to be in that kind of setting, and maybe look at other pathways that you can help other people. So let's go ahead. Obviously, no matter what kind of job you want to go into, whether it's medical or not, understanding the value of that position And understanding why that job is important is what usually gives people fulfillment. So if you don't find a job that isn't fulfilling, it doesn't have the values that coincide with you, you're in the wrong position. But I know a lot of people who go into Cna, it's because of those values that they're so strongly, passionate and so fulfilled with their job and their current path in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is difficult work. It is challenging work. It can be physically hard work and emotionally hard work, but it is absolutely so valuable. And you are doing such an amazing thing for these residents and for their families. So again, relationships, that social element is just at the absolute core. It is a relationship-based position, and important to build relationships with the residents as well as care for them. They need that social element just as much as they need the physical care. Especially these places can be lonely, and again, you are their lifeline. So important to build those relationships, to support others. You're definitely in a support position as a certified nursing assistant, and having that support for others, as well as just the working conditions. Hopefully the place that you work at will take really good care to make sure that you are in the best position to help the residents, and they will help you help them, basically. So really, really important for any job to have those working conditions that enable you to do your best work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's great. So, this is a finance show. I always want to kind of give people the idea on, why they can go into a certain career path and why that will be beneficial for them in the long term. So why don't we go ahead and kind of talk about the cost of going into Cna program, and then the potential like payout financially afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah. So the program I work with is so amazing because it's a government grant that allows Horizonte students to go through the Cna completely free of charge, which is just absolutely fantastic. If you can ever find an opportunity like that, I'd definitely go for it. Really, any educational opportunity, whether it's compensation through your workplace, any opportunity you have to further your education for free is absolutely priceless. And I would definitely suggest going for it. In this case, the Utah Cna Center's students that aren't the Horizonte students going through the program through the grant for free, the program costs $495. And then as far as later payout, in 2019, the average wages were $14.26 hourly, or like a little under $30,000 a year. So again, entry level, but a solid pay, a meaningful job.
Yeah, for sure. And is the program like a full year, half a year? How long does the program usually take on average for someone?
So the program, I would say, I'm not sure exactly the in-person time it was taking. Now that it's down to the online, I believe they have basically a month to finish. So it's pretty quick. They need to get through the online class and then also attend those couple days of in-person skills training that are hands-on. So there are some elements that they just need to keep hands-on, so they socially distance as much as they can, and then those few elements they do in person. So it can be a pretty quick program to go through. I would say you could probably get everything done, depending on the program, in a couple of months. So that's great if you wanted to change careers or enter careers at a pretty quick rate. You compare that 2 months to 8 years of medical school. So yeah, definitely see if it's something you like. See great entry-level position to the medical field.
Yeah, and for those who think a month or 2 months is a little bit fast, I know that's what Horizonte is doing, but I went to West High and it took an entire semester. So depending on what school you're going to, what program, what state, or if you're in another country, the time can vary. And look at different programs, see which program, are you a fast learner? Take the one at Horizonte and only do it in 2 months. If you're someone who likes to take more time and needs to practice more, maybe find a different program that works best. But probably the fees will, be averaged out to around the same. And depending on, the economy, I'm sure the pricing or the payment is, the wage is different depending on the circumstances, of course. But still, that's a really good amount each year, especially, for those just getting out of high school and then heading on to more advanced things after that. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next part. Why is the Cna so important? I don't think a lot of people really understand or even recognize CNAs. Often they mistake them for nurses or just basic assistants. But they are so important to our society in keeping everything running.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very, very foundational. That like nurse. And they can report those to the nurse who can look into those further. And again, especially crucial right now as the elderly are most at risk of having complications with COVID. So taking the most care to follow those safety precautions and give that extra support, because I have no doubt it is a very scary time to be among the elderly right now, just with the outbreak and being most at risk. So being comforting, being supportive, and following those precautions are crucial to being a CNA.
Yeah, exactly. And then, beyond just, helping people, what are some other benefits that are there?
Yeah, again, as we talked about, getting to help people, giving them that care, warmth, dignity, as well as being just a great entry-level position into the medical field, and seeing before you dive into a deeper program to see if the medical field is something that you would want to do. And it's also ranked by ONAT as having a bright outlook, which means that the projected growth rate of certified nursing assistant positions is higher than average. So it's a 7% to 10% increase as opposed to a little bit lower average range of increase. So it definitely has a bright future. Positions are increasing, and I would venture to say that certified nursing assistants, especially now, would be in quite need with everything going on. So, especially as the older generation continues to reach their 70s and 80s. I know we have a very big population of what are termed the baby boomer generation, and they're definitely approaching that age where they will need more care. So I would think CNAs would be in high demand for that.
Yeah, I think that's great to hear, especially with the economy. If you're interested in becoming a CNA, it is a position that is increasing and it's growing, and people are looking for you. So please, join the program, get some skills, be able to help people and find something like super fulfilling. And, beyond, just being a CNA, there's so many other positions available. And I know you're going to kind of go more into detail, but if you just want to kind of introduce the positions in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are just a few of the positions as well. There are many positions that you could bridge to. Again, being a CNA, having that core medical terminology, having that core medical knowledge can really open up to probably unlimited other medical positions, but just a few of those are registered nurse. And I know at Salt Lake Community College, the students in the registered nurse program are required to have their CNA before they even go through that and have that core knowledge. Another position would be a medical assistant. Another one is an occupational therapy assistant, and I'll go into what occupational therapy is, or a pharmacy technician. And again, these are only a small number of other future positions that you could move into as a CNA. It really is probably the most base position that you could have, and then progress from there.
Yeah, so why don't we just get right into it and start with like the next step up and becoming a registered nurse.
Definitely. So registered nurses have more, they need more schooling and they need more practice than CNAs, but having that CNA is a great thing to build up to being a registered nurse. So registered nurses have further responsibilities, and CNAs report to them then, and I just basically have some things about assessing patient health, development and implementing care plans, maintaining records. Nurses and CNAs, I would say, both are really the lifeblood of medical facilities. Again, having that most contact with the patients and the residents, and making sure they really get the hands-on care that they need. Actually, that can possibly prescribe the medication. I don't think registered nurses or CNAs definitely cannot. There are some other things that CNAs can't do. They can't like draw blood. They can't do certain things that registered nurses can do. I think you might have to be at the another level, even to prescribe medicine. But the registered nurses do have duties that the CNAs don't, and the nurse practitioner has duties that the RN doesn't. So it continually builds.
Oh yeah, so there is a hierarchy of power and responsibilities as you continue. So yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I think, medical assistant is also something some people can do depending on the high school they're at. I know at West High they had that option as well. So why don't we go ahead and go more in depth on what a medical assistant is?
Yeah, so medical assistants, basically administrative clinical duties. There is a billing and coding information aspect to it, as well as taking medical histories. And at this level, you can draw blood, which is not at the CNA level. But an important thing to note about medical assistants, and actually it's not just medical assistants, it is the registered nurses and the positions that I'll be going over afterwards to the occupational therapy assistant and the pharmacy technician. They all have extremely high growth rates. So their growth rate is actually all the way up to, what was it on the slide? Let's see, 11% or higher. So they have extremely bright outlooks. So medical assistants are growing, registered nurses are growing. They're in very high demand, and especially with the uncertainty in the economy, you definitely can't be a position that is growing much faster than average.
And so I know, there is the position of being like a phlebotomist. Is that separate from what a medical nurse or medical assistant would do, or is that kind of the same exact program they would go into? They get their phlebotomy training, and then they could start drawing blood.
Yeah, I would say that anyone that does have that ability to draw blood needs to go through that phlebotomy training. As far as being a separate position, I'm not sure. I would guess that there are phlebotomy technicians whose primary position is to draw blood, and then medical assistants that might not be their primary position, but they can do it when needed. I feel like when I go to the doctor's office, they have some people there that draw blood all the time. That's their primary role, and then others that do it more on a needed basis.
Okay, perfect. And then what is, we'll go, beyond that, an occupational therapy assistant?
Yeah, so occupational therapy is so a little bit different than physical therapy. So physical therapy, which I think more people have heard of that, and there are physical therapy assistants as well. But physical therapy is more along the lines of you've had an injury, you're recovering, and you will no longer have this injury once you recover, kind of thing. Where occupational therapy is more you're battling something that's not going to go away. So you're really having to rework what you do, how you do things, because what you're dealing with, either that came on because of an accident or that came on something you were born with, whatever it may be, is something that you're basically going to need to learn to live with and adjust yourself around. So where physical therapy could be helping people learn to, walk again, occupational therapy could be walk again, but it could also be eat again. It could be like in the picture here, it could just be as simple as painting, just a number of things. Daily life activities basically are occupational therapy kind of revolve around, just helping maintain or create that normalcy as much as possible.
Yeah, so much more intensive, much more specialized. So if you're ever interested, any of our viewers, in helping maybe, children or depending on, your preference, adults who have, more serious injuries or more serious needs, being an occupational therapist would be something that would be, our assistant would be something really fulfilling, and then you can be the therapist afterwards, getting more training, more education.
Yeah.
So go ahead and kind of go more on the, instead of the kind of impersonal one-on-one, there's, that other side of things with, CNAs or medical, more initial medical positions, which is, medication and being able to give things that are prescribed, which is, a pharmacy technician is a great thing for people who are interested more in that kind of area. That could also be, in that like skills test you were talking about, if you're more analytical, if you really like chemistry, for example, this might be a really great position. So don't think if you're not more on that social aspect that you can't get into some kind of medical position.
You bring up such a fantastic point. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that pharmacy technician would necessarily have that social aspect, that social interest that like a CNA or an RN would, but definitely still in the medical field, still a crucial position, but probably someone that relies very heavily on that conventional aspect, and that investigative aspect as well, as I think you were kind of mentioning, without maybe having that strong of a social component.
So, you know, at the end, I was like, my guests to kind of give like a message of hope or overall message on, you know, their topic, you know, and hopefully give something inspiring for those who are watching, especially, you know, young students, you know, just getting out of high school or, you know, starting at college, maybe even young professionals. You know, what are some tips you would give, you know, your kind of overall message for those looking to go into the medical, you know, career field? And then I'll also kind of give some of my own experiences. Also, like, you know, why are you so passionate about your position and, you know, helping students get into this program?
Yeah, absolutely. My background is in education, and I also have a sociology, psychology background as well. So all around working with people, helping people, teaching people. My social is extremely high in that for my work style. So I love working with people, and that's very important to me as much as I can help and teach and help develop and help grow. That's extremely important to me. So I feel like I've had that chance in this position where I've helped, gotten the amazing opportunity to help students progress through a program that could really lead to a meaningful position for them, and that could lead to not only meaningful work, but a good wage for them and their families, which is so important. $30,000 a year is nothing, you know, especially like as you were saying, coming out of high school. That's really not bad coming in. So especially doing something that has such meaning and purpose behind it as helping others every day. So gosh, it's been a very long time since I graduated from high school, since I was that young, but absolutely, I would say just keep that hope, and those opportunities can come. Definitely build relationships, build networks as much as you can. I feel like a lot of jobs come from not only what you know, but who you know. That's a very classic saying, but it very much is true. And when you do get those positions, work hard, be a good employee so you can have those references to build to the next position and the next organization. So really, as much as you can just keep building on your experiences, keep building on your education, just keep leveling up basically, and then keep really develop into the person and the employee that you want to be.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate those points, especially that part where you're talking about being in contact and having a really good relationship, you know, with like you as a coordinator, with, you know, your teacher, your professor, getting those amazing recommendation letters, and then, you know, with that person, with that connection, you know, being able to, you know, get into a specific position that could lead you onto an amazing career afterwards. And I learned a lot today that I hadn't even learned when I was taking my Cna program, and that was, you know, several years ago. I'm sure as things have advanced with new technology, new medical equipment, and, you know, just changing environments and circumstances, like right now with COVID, there's always progression, there's always creativity and innovation. And don't feel that, you know, if you're someone interested in getting to the medical program, that you don't have the skills, because it takes time. It takes, you know, Cna can take up to, you know, 6 months, you know, becoming a medical assistant, I think, can take up to like a year, 2 years. And yeah, you know, if you want to go and become a doctor, you want to become someone specialized, or you want to go into occupational therapy, it will take several years after that. But starting now, especially in high school, for those of you who are in high school, will only help you further on. You know, if you know, have the programs available. I know in high school I was able to get it paid for because of, you know, government funding. So if you can get things done for free, you know, maybe you'll get into a position later on as a senior or an assistant where they might have tuition reimbursement. You could go back to school, you know, go into, you know, a community college, go to university, get something higher after that. and then be a mentor for people. You know, especially nowadays, there's such a need for inclusivity, diversity. Be that role model that you didn't have maybe, or be that person that you want other people to be in the future as well. So really, you know, appreciate you for taking the time with me. You know, Stephanie has offered to help anyone with the resources. So if anyone's watching right now who, you know, is interested in asking more questions or would like help getting, you know, better resources, maybe even if you're in another state, she can still help out. So just reach out to me. Again, my email is universalfinanceacademy@gmail.com, or you can, you know, comment down below. Let us know if you're interested, or message me on my Facebook page, you know, Universal Finance Academy TV. But yeah, I'll let you, you know, kind of say your last message and your goodbye, and then I'll end the show from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, it's been a pleasure talking with you today, and I'm so glad I could share anything that I hope would be helpful or useful or hopeful, even during these challenging times. So definitely don't give up. Things will get better eventually. It's been a difficult year for many people, and it's been a difficult time, but I definitely believe there's still reason to have hope.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, you know, the point of my show was to give as much knowledge as I can, and having someone like you who is so willing and so helpful and wanting, you know, people to get into a career path that will really, you know, help them in the future is amazing. I hope I helped everyone, all my viewers today. Thank you so much for taking the time, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Hafiz.
بهار تلویزیون د یووالي او پیوستون رښتینی غږ